You know that feeling, right? You're sitting around a campfire and you just get lost. The rest of the world kind of fades away and you're just staring into those flickering flames. It's this warm, hypnotic pull that just quiets everything down. It's a feeling that feels, well, as old as time itself.
And hey, you are definitely not alone. This person on Reddit, Loco Luke, just nails it. You get stuck, totally mesmerized, and you could seriously do it for hours.
In fact, it's so universal that there's even a nickname for it, caveman's television. And that's perfect, isn't it? It was our very first screen, the original binge watch that had our ancestors completely hooked.
But is that all it is? Just a cozy vibe and a cool nickname? Or is there something real, something measurable happening inside of us when we stare into the fire?
Well, let's dig in, because science actually has some answers. And it turns out this whole calming effect, it is very, very real. It's not just in your head, it's happening in your body.
So a few years back, some researchers at the University of Alabama decided to actually test this. They set up a study to figure out what is physically happening to us when we're watching a fire.
And what they found was pretty amazing. On average, people's systolic blood pressure dropped by 5%, a whole 5%. Now that might not sound like a huge number, but physiologically, that is a significant measurable shift toward relaxation.
And you can see it right here. There's a clear, consistent drop. So we're not just feeling more chill. Our bodies are literally, physically entering a more relaxed state.
And here's the kicker. It was what you'd call a dose-dependent response. Basically, the longer people watched the fire, the more their blood pressure dropped. It's a simple formula. More fire equals more calm.
This also explains why watching one of those Yule log videos on YouTube just doesn't hit the same, right? Another study showed that a real, actual flame triggers slow wave activity in our brains. That's the kind of brainwave you have during deep, restorative sleep. It kicks our rest and recover system into gear in a way that a fake LED screen just can't. So, the big question is, why? Where does this deep biological response come from? Well, this isn't some new thing. It's basically hardwired into our DNA. It's an echo from our very, very distant past.
And when I say distant, I mean really distant. Look at this timeline. We're not talking about a few thousand years. We're talking hundreds of thousands, maybe even over 1 million years of living with fire. It's been with us for almost our entire evolutionary journey.
I mean, for our ancient ancestors, fire wasn't just nice to have. It was the ultimate survival tool. It was warmth, it was light in the terrifying darkness, it was protection from predators, it was a way to make better tools, and most importantly, it completely changed the way we ate.
Cooking was a total game changer. It unlocked nutrients our bodies couldn't access before. It made food safer and way easier to digest. All that extra energy that used to go into digesting raw food was suddenly freed up. And where did that energy go? Many scientists believe it went straight to fueling the growth of our huge, energy-guzzling brains.
So fire literally helped build our brains. But it did more than that. It also helped build our societies. The campfire was, in a very real sense, the original social network.
Just think about it for a second. Before we controlled fire, the day ended when the sun went down. Period. But the campfire pushed back the night. Suddenly there was a safe, warm, illuminated bubble where people could gather, talk, tell stories, and just connect.
And we actually see the proof in the ground. Archaeologists find early cultural artifacts, like these incredible Venus figurines, right where people would have been gathering around the remains of ancient hearths. It was the center of their world.
And this brings us right back to that University of Alabama study, remember? They didn't just look at blood pressure. They also found that watching fire boosted pro-social behavior. In other words, it makes us friendlier, more empathetic, more social. Science is confirming what we've always known deep down. Fire brings us together.
This connection to the hearth might have even shaped our earliest social structures. There's a theory that women often became the keepers of the fire, which created this stable, central point for the community while others were out hunting. The hearth literally became the heart of the home.
Okay, so we know fire calms us down and makes us more social because of our deep evolutionary history. But that still doesn't quite explain that trance-like hypnotic feeling, does it? Why is it just so hard to look away?
Well, the answer might come from a pretty wild place. Chaos theory. A fire is a perfect example of something called a strange attractor. All that means is it's a pattern that's super complex and totally unpredictable. You never know how a flame is going to move next, but it's also contained and safe. And our brains are just hardwired to pay attention to patterns like that.
And this idea explains so much. It's why a big, crackling campfire holds our attention for hours, but a little lighter flame doesn't. A lighter flame is just too simple, too predictable. A campfire, though, that's the whole shebang. It's multi-sensory. The sight, the sound of the crackling wood, the warmth on your skin, the smell. It's firing on all of our brain's ancient pattern recognition cylinders.
So when you put all of this together, you get this perfect evolutionary cocktail. You've got this fascinating, unpredictable thing that our ancient brain is programmed to watch, but we get to experience it from a place of complete safety, warmth, and togetherness. It's like watching a lion from behind a very, very strong fence. It's just amazing how much of who we are today is still being guided by the world our ancestors lived in. So the next time you find yourself zoning out in front of a fire, just remember, you're not just relaxing, you're answering a call that has been echoing through our DNA for 1,000,000 years. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other ancient instincts are quietly running the show in our modern lives?